Welcome to the Yargle Deck Tech. This is brought to you by MTGOtraders.com. They got you covered for any sort of Yargle needs, whether it's Brawl or Commander. Have some fun with Yargle. So let's take a look at Yargle himself. It's going to be 5 converted mana cost, 4 and a black. There's no rules text, so we're going to go ahead and read the flavor text. When Belzedeck's Lieutenant Yarkul grew too ambitious, the Demon Lord transformed him into a maggot. The frog that ate the maggot grew and grew until a ravenous spirit burst from its body, giving us Yargle. There we go. A lot of fun. I've had a lot of fun playing this deck. As far as this particular build of Yargle, this is what I would just basically describe as a Voltron deck. That means we're going to get down Yargle, stick as much equipment onto Yargle as possible, and then just start swinging in at our opponent. There is a sub-theme of kind of some black burn spells, which I will cover here in a second. But long story short, the main goal of the deck is to swing in with Yargle. Either A, close it out with commander damage. We do have Tainted Strike in here that we can close it out with Infect, or simply close it out with some blank burn spells. But let's go and jump into the deck tech. If you're getting your Yargle ready for the very first day of Commander, you want to make sure that Yargle looks nice and pretty for the day. So we've got some really good shoes for him to wear. You may notice that Yargle's a little bit top heavy, so having some good shoes is really important. We have Swiftfoot Boots is going to give him Hexproof and Haste. The Sandals are going to give him Flying and Haste, and then Trailblazer's Boots is going to make it a little bit easier for him to kind of push past some opponents with that non-basic land walk. Outside of the shoes, we want to make sure he looks good too, so we've got a couple different cloaks for him. We have Haunted Cloak, it's going to give him Vigilance, Trample, and Haste. And then with Whisper Silk Cloak, it's a little bit situational because it's going to give him Shroud, which is going to allow us not to equip any more equipment onto him. But let's say there's a point in the game where we just really need to close the game out. Throwing Whisper Silk Cloak on there to give it Protected and Shroud is a good way for us to start swinging in for that commander damage. Even if you can't give it an additional power, toughness, or something like that, you're looking at 3 swings with Whisper Silk Cloak to go ahead and close the game out. Outside of the different clothes that we're wearing for Yargle, we want to make sure Yargle is going to be nice and protected from the other commanders that might pick on him from being a little too top heavy. So we've got some good armory for him. We've got Loxodon Warhammer. It's going to give Trample and Lifelink. Cranial Plating is a great way to really kind of boost that power and toughness with the amount of artifacts that we're running in here. And then Hero's Blade is always really nice. You know, it works out really well that we can cast it for 2. And then whenever we go to cast Yargle, we're going to be able to equip it for free whenever a legendary creature enters the battlefield. Outside of that, we got Sword of Vengeance, which is going to give Yargle a really nice bunch of keywords: First Strike, Vigilance, Trample, and Haste. And then Grafted War Gear, that +3/+2 is going to allow us to kind of protect Yargle from some just random lightning bolts and different things like that. That unattached ability is not really going to matter because we're going all in on Yargle, and if it's going to become unattached from Yargle, more than likely there's some sort of removal on Yargle. Now, outside of these particular ones, we got some other good kind of, not win on the spot, but really high impact equipment. We have Grafted Exoskeleton, which is going to give it Infect. Last Right's going to get +1/+1 for each swamp that we control. And then Blackblade Reforged, which is a new card from Dominaria. It's going to get +1/+1 for each lane that you control. And we're only going to be able to equip it for 3, which is really nice to really give that additional power and toughness bonus to Yargle. Outside of the equipment, these particular equipment, we're also running the Sword of Feast and Famine and Sword of Fire and Ice. One thing to keep in mind with Sword of Feast and Famine is that it's going to give Yargle protection from black. That definitely helps you push past some certain commanders, but it's going to mess you up on certain spells in your own deck because you're not going to be able to target Yargle with your own spells. There's one video where I was like, all right, we're going to get a Tainted Strike win. GG, this is a really good video. I can't wait to show everybody. And then we had Sword of Feast and Famine on there. I go to cast Tainted Strike, and yeah, Yargle has protection from black, so you can't cast it on there. That's something to keep in mind, but don't run Sword of Feast and Famine in there just because of that. It's still a really good card to use to really get that untap your lands and make your opponent kind of discard some cards. Now, outside of the equipment, we have some good instant speed interactions with Yargle. It's going to allow us to kind of help win the game, or at least protect Yargle. We have Supernatural Stamina, Rush of Vitality, and Undying Evil. Since we're running Voltron in here, we want to keep Yargle on the battlefield as cheaply as possible. All of these spells are going to give Yargle indestructible, or at least allow it to come back onto the battlefield to where we can re-equip some of that equipment on there and keep swinging in. We also have 2 instant speed kind of win conditions for the deck. We have Tainted Strike, which is going to give it Infect, which I mentioned earlier. Don't use it with Sword of Feast and Famine, it will not work. And then Hatred, you know, you can pay X life and target creature gets +X/+0 until end of turn. Really fun. Let's say that you give Yargle unblockable, you cast Hatred, and that's going to be the look on your opponent's face when you go for the win. Outside of the instant speed interactions, we also have some good utility cards in the deck. We have the Thoughthy Embrace. We're going to be able to give Yargle Shadow, which is, I don't know, sounds like a lot of fun. Key to the City, going to make it Yargle unblockable, but also it has that second ability. When it becomes untapped, you may pay 2 if you do draw a card. not the best, but late game, if you don't have a lot going on, you're trying to dig for some stuff, it's better than nothing. So, and the fact that it's going to make Yargle unblockable for simply just discarding a card is always nice. And then Cover of Darkness Naming Frog is one of the best Magic plays you can ever make. Makes for a lot of fun. We're also running Forsaken Waste. That way you can get that down and let your opponent know what they're in store for. No life gain. This is Yargle commander damage. And then Filth. Filth, it was okay in the games that I played. It may be on the chopping block kind of soon. I didn't really feel like it had that much of an impact, but at least it does work with Urborg. And if you get down to Urborg, somehow you get Filth into the graveyard, and also acts as another option for you to, if you need to throw some equipment onto Filth, you could definitely go for that with that Swamp Walk. So we'll see how that goes, how different cards kind of shake out. Now, outside of these particular utility cards, we are running some good like black burn spells that really deal with Yargle's high power toughness. Just their high power. We have Dying Wish. Whenever Yargle dies, whenever enchanted creature dies, target player loses X life and you gain X life for its power. Same thing with Rite of Consumption and Essence Harvest. These are great ways for us to help kind of close the game out. Let's say that we're able to push in with Yargle a couple swings. We've got our opponent's life total down into the single digits or maybe in the teens. Using one of these cards can help us really kind of close the game out by dealing damage equal to Yargle's power. It's really not that crazy to end up with Yargle in the range of 15. So especially if you're playing 1 versus 1 commander, swing in one time and then go for one of these spells, and you're good to go. Outside of these particular spells, we're also running Wall of Blood, which kind of acts up as a backup for either one of these spells. We can pay a bunch of life to give it +1/+1, and then use one of these spells to burn them out. I'm running Pain's Reward in here as just kind of a testing it out. I've thought that, if we get our opponent in a bidding war, trying to draw those 4 cards, and then we can use Dying Wishes to close it out, I wanted to run at least a low converted mana cost card that would really kind of eat up our opponent's life total, or at least put them in this weird position to where they felt like they need to use their life total, and then we can use one of these 3 cards up top to kind of help close the game out. But I never got an opportunity to cast it, but at least it's, something interesting to use in combination with these particular cards. And then outside of this, we got your standard finish black burn spells. We have Torment of Hellfire, Sanguinate, and Corrupt to kind of help us close the game out. Now that's going to be it for the deck tech. I have 3 gameplay videos up for you right now if you want to see some fun Frog Voltron, and if you enjoyed the video, like and subscribe. Thanks. Bye.